Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pass First podcast. My name is Hugh, and I'm here with co-host Max.
I'm here.
And David.
Also here.
Today, we
Good
have...
roll call.
We got the biggest of NBA news. The word we've all been waiting for, coming in our favorite form of the Woj bomb. The NBA is back, or at least coming back.
I loved how that was the end of the tweet. That was very legendary.
It was very cool. I'm so excited, guys. We're going to get basketball. It's real. It's materialized. It's the end of July. Is the 31st? Is that the rumor? The speculation? Nobody knows.
The 31st is supposed to be when they start the regular season games, yeah.
Yeah. So the 31st, and then it's ending around the first or second week of October. They have a day.
If it goes to 7 games in the finals, I believe they said October 12th.
Yeah, okay.
So that also pushes the start date of Christmas out the window as well for the next season.
Probably. Yeah, probably. I mean, there's a chance, though. Like, I don't know, because it's weird.
We have a comment from Dad. Woo basketball. We agree.
Basketball is hype.
David, are you Dad?
No.
All right,
never mind. Continue.
Okay. So
he's got his burners out today.
Honestly.
Yep. Listen. We are starting out fresh, and we need those streamers. You know, we need those views. So
we do.
Shout out to the dads of the world.
Share this. You know, anyone else watching other than my alternate YouTube accounts, share this with anyone who likes basketball.
And your dads.
Definitely.
And your dad.
And their dad. We're very likable.
I like to say we're a dad-friendly show.
Absolutely. We teach them how to play horse.
That's true. Don't worry, dads. We love using the backboard. We get in a triple threat position whenever we catch the ball. Mm-hmm. We never do behind the back dribbles, and we always look where we're passing.
Exactly.
That's all.
So
backboard's the most important part, by the way.
Fundamentals.
Good fundamentals.
That's why we're called Pass First, really, is we were catering to the dad audience.
So back to the news.
Continue, yeah.
The NBA coming back. It's not officially official. They're voting tomorrow. The Board of Governors on a call with Adam Silver. But it's probably going to happen. Adam Silver's good at his job. He wouldn't be letting this kind of nonsense leak if he didn't have a good, firm grasp of things. And it's 8 regular season games, so a little bit of the regular season they wanted to get the players up to speed. That's good because, we don't want the Bucks coming out and all these top-seeded teams having no practice. But every game feels meaningful because only 22 teams are coming back. They're only teams that were either playoff qualified, so would make the playoffs if the season ended today, or within 6 games of the 8th seed. And after 8 games, they're going to have a little bit of a play-in tournament to keep it fair for those teams that just barely got cut off if they're within 4 games. How do you guys feel about this?
I just wanted to ask, have you guys seen Bobby Portis's tweet?
No.
I haven't. I don't follow Bug-Eye Bobby.
Not lately.
No, it's official. It's like when he responded, it was like, I'm pissed off. I didn't get, because here's the thing is like, it's one-sided on the Western Conference, 13 teams from the West, 9 teams from the East, there really only is one other team that's kind of fighting in the East for a playoff spot. Meanwhile, you kind of have this grab bag of, the remaining members of the Spurs, the Kings, the Pelicans, the Grizzlies, who are in the 8th seed.
And the Suns.
And the Suns, which is always great because if Baines is back,
playoff Baines is nice. Pretty dangerous, yeah.
Oh yeah, very, very dangerous. He's like a weapon, like a big giant tank who has like a lot of flaws, but they reveal it like the last second,
I feel that, yeah.
Very, very strategic player.
So Bobby Portis is complaining that it's uneven on the sides of the East and the West?
I mean, he's just saying like, I wish I got to finish the second half of the season.
Oh, well,
Meanwhile, everyone's
he could
like,
have wished that he
commenting,
wasn't
like,
on the Knicks.
it's like no one wanted to witness that.
He said,
Yeah.
and I quote, "Damn, I was ready to hoop. Guess I'll be setting up hoop sessions at the crib." So no one told him he couldn't hoop. He just has to do it at the crib.
Yeah.
Tough break for
And
Mr. Portis.
I find it really hard to believe that he was sitting back over this break and he's like, "Yeah, I can't wait for them to let the Knicks play in the playoffs."
Yeah, I don't know.
Definitely not happening.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it was.
He plays for the Knicks, right?
Yeah, it would have been. It would have been better if they got them to play some games, but that just wasn't realistic. They want to keep the amount of people in Orlando down. Every team saved. That's money saved. That's just space, health concerns. Are a little bit lessened. It's better to do it this way. And it also, what I thought was interesting and kind of cool is they have to make a new regular season schedule for these 8 games. And that makes this 8-game chase down way more interesting because who knows if it was like the Wizards trying to catch the Nets or the Magic, and the Nets and the Magic had a bunch of bad teams on their schedule, they could just coast on those and call it. But now it's like, it's the Bucks and then the Celtics and then the Mavericks or whatever. Like it's not going to be easy for any of these teams to clinch a playoff berth. If any of the lower seeds go 8-0, then they're going to be able to make it to the playoff, or 7-1 even. So that we wouldn't have seen that if they were just playing a bunch of random teams.
Yeah, but I mean, I find it pretty hard. I think the outcome of this is that you're just going to have really bad lower seeded teams making the playoffs. Like, I don't see teams like the Magic and the Nets and the Wizards taking too many games off the top of the East, assuming that they
I don't
have
know.
all the training.
You doubt late season Magic. I mean, we went to that game against the Celtics.
God.
I will live
That was
stream
actually
myself.
the first loss I've been to in probably like 3 years, like before Isaiah Thomas.
Is online sports gambling legal in Massachusetts yet?
No.
All right, I will drive to New York and live stream myself placing a bet on the Bucks sweeping the Magic, because there's no way they take a single game off of the Milwaukee Bucks. No chance.
All right, so I guess we can all say like, it's kind of fair that this is going on because the West definitely has more teams that would be more interesting to watch.
Yeah.
So then the question is like, who would be the most interesting to watch against the Lakers?
Pelicans. It's Pelicans.
I agree.
For
Pelicans.
like 100 reasons. First off, the Lonzo revenge game. Lonzo got traded from his old team, his franchise namesake. It's disgusting. It's despicable. They took their franchise cornerstone, the best point guard since Magic Johnson, their words, not mine, and they moved him to New Orleans. He's got to get his revenge.
It's also the Josh Hart grudge game. Don't
Exactly.
forget that.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Brandon Ingram, he has got something to say.
Yeah,
too.
but
there's a lot of beef.
And healthy Zion.
These two teams.
In healthy Zion.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say it's Anthony Davis trying to, show why it was a good move to leave his team. You could say it's Zion versus LeBron, the new versus the old, all these things. But it's the Lonzo revenge game. Like, the man has to get back at the franchise that burned him.
We have to really start getting away from the Ball family. We're going to become the Big Baller podcast.
You'll never.
I think he's come up every single time.
Yeah.
Or one of the Balls has.
And I wonder who brought him up every single time.
It was you.
You'll never get me away from the Ball family. They changed. I swear to you, I'm not even kidding, that when the Balls became a thing, that deepened my love for basketball. I've never been more interested. That flipped the switch for me. That I went all in on basketball when Lonzo was going number 2, and there was the Markelle and Tatum situation, and that was peak.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we got a newbie on our hands.
Well, no,
Yeah,
I always liked it, but
Definitely like an Instagram NBA crowd on our hands.
Yeah.
All right.
You never struggled through the late 2000s like we did.
Well, that's the difference. I was a Celtics fan before that. I watched the Celtics, but I didn't start tracking the whole league and all that stuff. Lonzo got me to buy the shoes, all right?
I didn't do that until probably the beginning of 2016. It was actually the Warriors that like I remember the Warriors were like starting their 26 game win streak of the 2016 season, and they were going up against the Celtics. I watched that game. That game fucking sucked. Oh, sorry, Jesus.
Don't worry, we're not making any money, so YouTube can't demonetize us.
All
We're
right,
fine.
whatever. But like,
No,
anyways, we need a cuss button. We really do. We need like a like a buzzer that can also go off.
well, you're not Kevin Garnett. We don't have the funding for that.
All right, to be truth. Yeah.
I can't believe
Anyway.
that you guys latched on so late. Me and my brother were just talking about they were playing the Eastern Conference Finals from 2012 against the Heat on TV for some reason.
They were
Ugh.
playing it when we went live. It was still going.
Damn,
Yeah, and
that game
we
is
remembered-
so painful.
We remembered, I believe that NBA 2K13 was the first one that we bought. And the reason that we really became so invested in the NBA is just because we would do it. That was when they came up with my team, and we would just play it so often that we came to learn pretty much every player in the league at that point. And then from then on, we would know everything that was going on. Before that, you kind of have to, it was mostly Celtics and doing your history lessons on who ended up where. But
Yeah.
I can say that I've been in this longer than you two, apparently.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
again,
well,
I watched that series. That series broke my heart. I remember that series. And I also, like, if we're going to talk video games, I had, like, NBA Live 06, like, balling out on the PS2. I just didn't care about the players. I just, like, turned on the game and I was like, let's play some ball. Like, I would pick the Celtics every single time and, like, that kind of stuff. I just didn't care about the other, unless they were a threat to the Celtics, I just didn't care.
So to be fair, I was probably like a Celtics fan. I took a leave of absence after I think the last game I watched, before the break was the 2013 Celtics Knicks, the one where we almost came back, and that just like ripped out my heart when Avery Bradley and like Paul Pierce lead a 25-point comeback in the fourth quarter after like not scoring the whole game.
That series was the first game I ever went to. It was the game that Jason Terry fought J.R. Smith.
Oh, the elbow. The elbow to the head.
I distinctly remember we were sitting back in the nosebleeds when... So this was, 2013? So we would have been freshmen in high school. And we were sitting up in the nosebleeds, and I remember there was a guy sitting behind us, and Jason Kidd was bringing up the ball. And he just screamed at the top of his lungs, "Why don't you just steal the ball? He's old and white." And from then on, I loved Celtics fans.
That's hilarious.
That's tough.
Yeah. But anyways,
but,
regarding
so
the return.
I took like a... Oh, yep, sorry. Don't mean to get off track.
Yeah, I don't know how long we want to go into our origin stories here. But, so it goes all the way down to the Suns, which is kind of nice. I mean, I don't think these teams can say that they made the playoffs, though, right?
No.
Because they're still doing the top 8 from each conference.
Yeah. So let's go and see who do we realistically think could make the playoffs.
I don't think the Wizards can make it, so I think the East is good to go.
How many are they back there? 5.5?
They're 6. They're 6 back.
It says 20. It's 5.5 according to what I'm seeing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 5.5 games back. Yeah, that's not happening. I guess I don't know how you round that off or whatever.
And the Magic are just going to get better because they're going to have Jonathan Isaac back. And the Nets might have Kyrie. I don't think they'll have Kevin Durant.
So here's... this is tricky because the Wizards, who could they beat? Because let's say they get within 4 so they can have the playoff. All right, first question. Do we think the Magic passed the Nets in the standings in these 8 games? Because I say yes.
I'm going to Google Jonathan Isaac and see if he's back. If he is, then yes, definitely. Let's see. Feels it. 1 week ago. Unclear and unlikely he will join the Magic. Okay, so probably not. They said he only started running again when the facility reopened last week, so he's not playing.
Okay, so that is tougher. And then what about Kyrie?
If it's no Kyrie, let's see.
It says he isn't. Oh, jeez. It says he isn't a safe bet to return if it resumed in the summer, but that was 2 months ago. So
Yeah, I can't find anything in the news that isn't about protests with him, which doesn't surprise me at all. So
I'm gonna say, let's assume nobody returns, even though Kevin Durant should return because he's healthy.
So let's say it's no KD, no Irving, then no Isaac, and then no Wall for the bottom of the East.
So the Nets and the Magic are
3 teams.
about equal in record. The Magic have one more loss. So who wins more of those 8 games? Or is it just a complete toss-up?
I think the Magic have a better shot just because they have a system. They're a defensive-minded team. And I think especially someone like Markelle Fultz will benefit from this time off.
Huh. Why?
He was just slowly getting better this year. They were starting him most of the season, and he was getting better as the year went on.
So I almost wonder if this could throw that off.
I have no idea. All I know is that he was finally getting his rhythm back in his jump shot, and he was being useful.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that the Nets had some Spencer Dinwiddie going, and Karis LeVert was back, and that was kind of it. But I think people, like, when your team is led by, like, they have a much better bench, and then they have an all-star in Vucevic. I think I'd take Vucevic over all of the Nets' big men. And I don't know. They're just a defensive-minded team. The Nets fired their coach for some reason, like right before all this happened. They fired Kenny Atkinson.
And the journalists, all the media was really mad about it for some reason.
Yeah, so they don't really have any system to go on right now. They haven't even been practicing with their new interim coach.
Yeah.
So I think Steve Clifford and the Magic move up to 7 pretty comfortably.
All right, so then it comes down to Nets, Wizards. Who wins?
I'd say the Nets. Yeah,
Right.
No, the Wizards are just too far back. Plus, I think today they kind of confirmed that John Wall was probably gonna sit out the rest of the season.
Yep.
There were reports that some teams were expecting him, but most reputable news sources didn't really put much faith into it. But I don't think they could catch the Nets or the Magic.
They don't have to catch them; they just have to beat them.
That's a good point.
They have to get they have to catch them, which is to get within 4 games. So they would only have to move up like 1 or 2 games, and then they would have to beat them twice. I'd say no. It's just too unlikely. There's too many things stacked against them.
Yeah.
To move up then to win and to double eliminate them just seems a little much. So
is Markieff Morris still with the Wizards?
No. He was on the Pistons this year. He's actually now on the Lakers.
All right. Well,
that's right.
They had to match
both Morris brothers in LA.
Copy the Clippers again. So that brings us down to the West.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start with Phoenix. Phoenix is 6 games back. I'd say that's too far to catch Memphis in 8 games.
Yeah.
Or to get within 4 even. In 8 games, they have to get... no, maybe they can, actually. I'd say it's too much to get within 4 when there's 5 teams ahead of you. Because technically they don't need... Again, it was kind of confusing how they explained it, but you either need to get within... You need to be... The first criteria is to be the 9 seed, right? If you're not the 9 seed, you're done. Am I right on that?
I think so, yeah.
I believe you have to be the 9 seed. So we shouldn't even look at who's within 4 for the West. We should just look at who has potential to be the 9 seed. Phoenix is...
only 3 games back from the Blazers.
Yeah, 2.5 technically. So, can they catch... I'm going to say no, they can't catch the Kings, the Pelicans, and the Blazers, though.
They could catch the Kings. I don't believe in the Kings.
Yeah, but I'm just saying for them, they would have to catch all three of them. They would have to pass all three of them, which would mean all three of those teams would need to go 6-2 or worse, or 5-3 or worse, and that would mean Phoenix would have to go 8-0. It just seems unlikely.
Not doing that.
Yeah, so Phoenix is done. San Antonio, it really comes down to those four. I'm going to say Memphis.
I don't think you can
safe.
include the Kings. I don't believe in them.
All right.
Yeah, me too. I think Buddy Hield has been holding that team on, pulling it around by a string, and I don't know, I don't know if they're, built for this.
All right, not built for this. The haters say the Kings are out. So then it comes down to the Spurs, the Pelicans, and the Blazers. Now, Damian Lillard was out. This actually kind of saved Portland's season in a lot of ways, because he was out and they were slipping, and then he's now back, correct?
Well, I think he was healthy, but he was saying that, so his whole gripe was that if they didn't, I think on and off, I'm not sure how long he was actually out.
Yeah, I think they were just giving him, what's the name of it?
I thought he had
the excuse for Kawhi Leonard sitting on the bench. I can't even think of the
load
name.
management?
No.
Load management,
No.
yeah.
I thought he had a
I thought he
serious
was
injury. All right, I'll look it up. You guys debate whether the Trailblazers can make it.
I think the Trailblazers certainly have a chance. That reminds me. I definitely don't think he's coming back. But does anyone know when Nurkic is coming back?
I don't know. He broke his leg, didn't he?
Yeah, he was supposed to come back during the season, though. He was supposed to be back. So I think I guess they haven't announced, but I want to say yeah.
They had a lot of injuries on that team. They had Zach Collins was out. That's why they got Carmelo in the first place.
Lillard had a groin injury, according to this. But yeah, he was... Makes sense because he was playing an MVP before that. And it was right before the All-Star break. And then, yeah. So now he's going to have a better shot. Or they're going to have a better shot at making it. Then they only need the 9 seed. So are they better than New Orleans is the question.
Or San Antonio.
Yeah,
I think New Orleans definitely doesn't, have the experience of Portland and San Antonio on their side, but the youth is also an aspect because
the youth.
I think that the defense of the Blazers is not all that great, especially with Nurkic out. So, if you have an offensive heavy team, I feel like the Pelicans can definitely score from a lot of places. You have Lonzo, Brandon Ingram, you got Redick, who hasn't missed the playoffs for his entire career. Mm-hmm. So I think what works in the Pelicans' favor is definitely their offensive weaponry. I think the Blazers are really the only true match, and obviously the Grizzlies because they're in the 8th seed. But I think the Blazers, if Damian Lillard and McCollum, if their bench steps up, then maybe they win. But I think, I think everyone's going to want to see a Pelicans-Lakers series in the end. Either them or the Grizzlies.
I'm going to assume...
They either want to see Ja or Zion.
I'm going to say each of those teams is 3.5 back from Memphis. I think Memphis does enough to keep the 8th seed, and it goes to the playoff. So it's going to mean one of these teams... Yeah, I think. In 8 games, you think they're going to chase them down from 3.5 back? That's tough. That's really hard to do.
Not really, because the Grizzlies are also going to be playing against the upper teams. It's not.
So is everyone.
All of the 4. What?
So are all the teams. So is New Orleans. So is Portland.
Right. I think the strength of schedules came out. I don't know if you saw. The Celtics have one of the easiest. I think Philly has the easiest. We have the 3rd.
Did they make the schedules?
I'm pretty sure they did.
Oh,
at least they've already given the strength of schedule.
Are you sure that's not strength of schedule for the rest of the season that it was supposed to be? Because they're redoing the schedule.
Yeah, because I did not hear this.
I think the only thing that they had for strength of schedule was the remaining of the regular season, which would have been 15 games with all 30 teams. But now that there's only these 22, they have to redo the schedule completely for the 8 games.
Yeah. So I'm gonna think that Memphis again. Would have to lose half of their games. They have to go 4-4, and if they went 4-4, then Portland, New Orleans, or Sacramento would have to go or San Antonio, I guess, would have to go 8-0. I don't think it's likely. I think again, 3.5 games and 8 games is really hard to overcome. I'm gonna say it's not likely, but I will say that I'd favor New Orleans against Memphis in a double elimination. It's like a game 6, game 7 scenario with Memphis in the lead. So,
I think the Spurs are going to swoop in and ruin the fun.
They're disadvantaged because of that half game back they are from the 3 other teams. But
yeah, I still think if they were, they seem to play the best against good teams. You know,
that's true. Well, kind of, because they also are known for beating all the bad teams they're supposed to. That's kind of how San Antonio made their constant great record, is by winning the games they're supposed to.
Yeah, the other problem with the Spurs is that they're a much better home team than an away team because the Spurs crowd is awesome.
Yeah.
So if they're not getting that, I think they might have some trouble. That was an interesting thing that I was thinking about, was like there are certain teams that are much better at home and certain players that are much better at home just because they're crowd feeders.
Yeah.
I think Embiid is someone like that.
The Philly was atrocious away this season.
They were 29-2 at home. They had the best home record in the league. And then they were 10-24 on the road, which is terrible.
That's horrendous.
So there's something about playing at home that made them unstoppable.
The Knicks were better on the road than the Sixers. Let that sink in.
Oof.
But
So I feel like they would have a huge disadvantage.
And they also would have to have, over these 8 games, a better record than the Kings, the Pelicans, and the Blazers. They lose any tiebreaker. It's just mathematically so difficult.
Who is this? The
Spurs.
Okay, yeah.
So
yeah, I don't know. They're also kind of one of those home teams, so they probably won't.
So realistically, I think we're going to see the same seeding, or the same playoff teams in the East, and then maybe Portland or New Orleans sneaks in the West. But the odds are still very much for Memphis, because if you get that 8 seed, you get that double elimination factor. So you have to lose twice to lose your spot.
Yeah. Do you think it's fair to the lower seeded teams?
Yeah, I think it's fair enough. They're all pretty far back anyway.
Yeah, so you're all for this system.
No little tidbit about the Eastern Conference would be interesting if 2 things happen. If Kyrie both comes back and the Nets slip to the 8 seed, that'd be an interesting rematch, Kyrie versus the Bucks.
Is that a thing that happened?
What?
Kyrie versus the Bucks? I might have missed this.
Just think of like the last series he played for us, last season.
Oh yeah,
he went shot 4 for 23.
Was horrible.
It'd be interesting to see what he does now.
he's like, I'm not gonna shoot that bad next game. Shoots worse. Ugh, yeah, that was awful.
Yeah, and I would want to see the Magic and the Raptors again, so that the Magic can steal Game 1.
Yeah,
DJ Augustine.
So let's I guess just to close out the Pelicans, Kings, Trailblazers, Spurs thing, it's really going to come down to that strength of schedule, because if you could easily see the better team in here getting the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Bucks, and then suddenly they lose 1 or 2 more games than they're supposed to or something, and then the other team makes it through. So we're going to have to wait for the schedule to really make our judgments there.
Yeah. Yeah, in only 8 games, you could get screwed over real easily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now, Mr. Max George, I think it's time.
Why do you keep doxing my last name, Hugh? I don't appreciate it.
Is it not on your Twitter?
No, it is. It's fine.
You've made a little list for us, a special list of. You're ranking the tallest players in the NBA. Was that your goal there? S through F. Who's
No.
tallest?
No, it's the starting centers.
It wasn't. It wasn't who can touch the top of the backboard easiest.
Why was Boban number one?
He wasn't.
No, he wasn't.
You
It
made
was
it.
Taco, actually.
So what was the criteria for your list again?
You had to be a starting center.
And you judged them in terms of their. What?
Ability as a starting center.
All right, fair enough. All right. So Max made a tier list, guys. I was trying to get him to, give the specifics of how he judged these players, but he went A, B, C, D, E, F, and then S at the top. Your typical tier list you find on like Twitter and stuff of
Yeah.
30
Do you
centers.
have it for the stream?
Yeah, 30 centers for 30 teams, and
You didn't even recognize all their faces.
I didn't even know who like I don't know, like a fifth of them were or something. No, probably a little less than that. But yeah, we had some debate. We had a little debate before he even finalized it. David got really heated. We almost lost a podcast host because of the disgrace that he brought to our podcast. But here it is. Max, you want to explain yourself?
So do you want to start at the bottom?
I think you should explain yourself a little bit first.
Explain myself in
Yes.
terms of...
What have you done here?
Well, what I did here is I ranked each starting center in the NBA of each of the 30 teams based on basically individual ability. What ranking are you in the success of your team? And how much are you in the game plan for another team? How many minutes do you play? How vital are you to your team? And how well do you perform under those circumstances, under that role?
So it's not about legacy.
Here we have the tier list.
It's not about credentials. It's not about career achievements. It's about if I put you on my team, if I'm a general manager and we're redrafting the whole NBA and I have to draft centers, who am I looking at? Who do I want today? Who can ball?
Yeah, who is on their team making the biggest impact right now?
Who wears the largest shoes?
Well, I mean, they all wear the biggest shoes on the team, but...
And here we are. So do you want to start at the top? I think we should start at the top.
At the top?
Well, no, we can start at the bottom. You want to start at the bottom?
I think starting at the bottom would be interesting because you expressed that you didn't recognize all these men.
Yeah, some of them I don't even know.
So are these all the starting centers, like the active starting centers of all these teams?
Yes. There were a handful that were only starting due to injuries, or they would have kind of like a rotation at the center. So these were the ones that started the most games, or if they were healthy. So the only exception to that rule was Yusuf Nurkic, who missed the whole season, but on that depth chart would be starting over Hassan Whiteside. And the same goes for Clint Capella. He never played a game for the Hawks, but would clearly be the starter there. Whereas when you get into the lower tier teams, John Henson was starting for the Pistons, and that was just because they traded Blake Griffin and they literally didn't have another center. So
other than Drummond?
No, Drummond's on the Cavs.
Oh shit! I completely That
this is
trade
a good
happened so late in the
before we
season.
get back to the season.
Jeez, yeah.
I did see the Drummond one. I was like, I know you. You're because I saw the jersey and I was like, you're not Tristan Thompson.
I thought you're
Andre
ranking
Drummond.
Tristan Thompson very high.
Yeah, no. So there were certain guys that by the end of the season they were starting, but they weren't necessarily doing it all year. So those were kind of the credentials there. We'll start at the F tier. Hugh, did you recognize all these three men?
No.
Okay, who do you not recognize?
Give me a second. All of them? Should I know any of them?
I don't recognize the middle guy, but I think he's on the Warriors.
It looks like a Warriors jersey, yeah.
So on the left, the first entrant of the F tier is John Henson. He is a
former Bucks legend.
He is a former Buck, UNC Tar Heel. He's been in the league for a few years now. And the only reason he's starting is because he was in the Andre Drummond trade actually, and they had already and Blake Griffin was injured.
See,
So
I did know who that was. I just didn't know his face. How am I supposed to know John Henson's face?
you should. He is also one of the only ones that wears a short sleeve shirt under his jersey. It's quite the look. Yeah, so it was him and Thon Maker actually trading off the starting center job down in Detroit. And he started the most games and was starting for like the last 10 or so games of their season. So John Henson is the starter, but realistically, he really shouldn't be your starter.
Word.
In the middle, we have Marquise Chris. He is the starter for the Warriors.
Tough.
Basically the G League Warriors. And
Didn't they have Willie Cauley-Stein though?
nope, he's on the Mavericks.
Ooh.
Oh shit.
So what we have is Marquise Chris after, all the things that happened in Golden State, injuries and such. Kevon Looney goes down. He was kind of the starter, but then he came back and he never got his starting job back. Marquise Chris started every game he played for the Warriors. And he's a former lottery pick of the Suns. And you might remember him playing alongside Dragan Bender on the atrocious Suns. He was soon shipped out to Cleveland and now found himself in Golden State, where he was a starter, kind of a bust at a number 9 overall pick. Should not be starting for your team.
I think I know the third guy.
Who is it?
Taj Gibson.
That is Taj Gibson.
See, I didn't know his face, but like it looked kind of like him, and the orange made me think Knicks.
Yeah. So, to the dismay of Knicks fans, both coaches of the Knicks throughout this season, David Fizdale and Mike Miller, not the Mike Miller that you know, some other guy named Mike Miller, have started Taj Gibson at center next to Julius Randle over Mitchell Robinson, who is arguably their brightest young player right now, other than like RJ Barrett.
Didn't you just say? Don't they have Bobby Portis too, or does he start too next to him?
He doesn't start either.
What the? All right.
Yeah, no. So the Knicks have been starting 35-year-old Taj Gibson at center over Bobby Portis and Mitchell Robinson.
Well, he's like the Amir Johnson. He's in that stage of his career. Like he starts for like the first 5 minutes. Maybe sees more action in the third quarter, but that's about it.
He plays like 20 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And there's really no reason that Mitchell Robinson shouldn't be starting. He's almost the best player on the team already in his second year in the league. And Taj Gibson, at this stage of his career, he was fine back in like his Chicago days, but he shouldn't be starting anymore. In the E tier, we had starters that started the whole year, but were kind of like they would get limited minutes like that. Like they were probably the worst player out of their starting 5, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So that's. Do you recognize everyone in this row?
No.
Okay.
I know my boy Cody Zeller though. Iconic look.
First up, we got Cody Zeller. the number 4 overall pick of the Charlotte Hornets. He's been in the league for so long. He's actually one time a Bobcat, and he is still starting, and no one knows and no one cares. He really should be a backup, and he's been starting all this time. He's a legitimate NBA player, so he's been fine in his role. He averages around 10 points a game, so he's not an F tier. Like he's not
unproductive.
He's not an unproductive like bench guy, borderline in the league sort of person.
Hole in the offense,
Yeah, but I mean, you wouldn't take him anywhere higher,
Oh no way.
On most other teams, he would be coming off the bench. Same goes for Ivica Zubats on the Clippers. Mm-hmm. He's one of Doc Rivers' fake starters because Montrezl Harrell plays like 30 minutes a game, and Zubats plays like 15.
Yeah, but Zubac won our hearts.
He just start.
I said Zubac won our hearts.
Zubac is interesting. I mean, he's young, and he's not bad, but he's also not good.
Did he come from the Lakers?
Yeah, he was a Laker.
Yeah, who did he get traded for? Do we remember?
Nothing. I'm pretty sure they just gave him up for, like, cap space.
Wow, that's tough.
Probably for like Dwight Howard or whatever.
But it's cleared the way for Harrell to win the probably Sixth Man of the Year.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting strategy. There are some other guys on this list that are kind of the same. Myers Leonard is like that. He's a fake starter. They actually start him and Bam Adebayo together, but then they usually play small ball with Bam at the 5, and then someone like Jay Crowder or Iguodala at the 4. So Myers Leonard, yeah, he's fine. Probably shouldn't be a starter, but he's not bad. Then you got Derek Favors on the Pelicans, same sort of deal. Rashawn Holmes on the Kings, and Thomas Bryant on the Wizards.
Wait, who's
These are all.
I would say Rashawn Holmes is maybe just a tad bit too low. I would not say he's on the level of Zubac, because like Zubac has no potential. Rashawn Holmes is kind of more like he seems very raw. Like he does have pretty good performances, but no, I feel like his ceiling's a little bit higher than Zubac or any of the other guys.
But right now on the Kings, would you rather have him, or if you look one tier higher, would you rather have him or Wendell Carter? You'd rather have Wendell Carter at this point.
Yeah.
And then Thomas Bryant is on the Wizards, and he is kind of a miraculous come out of nowhere guy. He was a bench player on the Lakers, and then the Wizards got him and immediately started him. So he's fine. He's like 10 points a game, same sort of deal. So that's the E tier.
So would you want to list off what are the names of all of them? I got them, but one more time for
Zeller,
for the peel back.
Zubac,
Leonard,
Favors, Holmes, and Bryant.
All right, that's your E tier. Going up a step, looking at the people, how would you classify the D tier?
The D tier are guys that are really good at their job, but are at the lowest priority in their starting 5. Pretty much. So that's Daniel Tice. He gets the job done. He isn't necessarily a weak link, but he's also the least feared person in the lineup,
yeah, and the NBA actively has a war of whistles on Tice. Like, this man just breathes on people and instantly called by any ref.
No bias.
I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Mm-hmm. So he's fine defensively. He's fine offensively. So I think he passes for D tier just because you're not angry about him starting, but you could have better.
Important question.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think he misses Baines? Just deep down, personally.
I'd take Tice over Baines at this point.
But does Daniel Tice miss Aaron Baines? Just in the locker room, on the court.
I mean, I think everyone does. I think Baines has a great personality.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Baines has been lighting it up in Phoenix. It's crazy how much of a sharpshooter he's become.
Yeah, but when you're playing for Phoenix, there's lots of shots to get off. So
yeah,
I don't know. Hey, Phoenix. Hey, Phoenix has a chance. Phoenix has a very, very slim chance at the playoffs. So
They will be in Orlando playing golf.
Yes, they will. Next to him, we have Wendell Carter Jr., starter for the Bulls. He keeps getting injured. He was a top 10 pick 2 years ago, and I think he could be really good. And he's averaged about 10 points a game 2 years in a row now. And he seems like he's part of the young building blocks of the Bulls: Kobe White, Lauri Markkanen, Levine. And, so he's not you'd rather have Levine or Markkanen at this point in their careers. But, Carter's fine, and I think he could get better. And then there's 2 others in the D tier that are kind of more they're on really good teams and they do their job well, but they're not individually the most talented players in the world, and they kind of just do their job and go on with it. So they're not very high on this list. That's PJ Tucker, who technically plays center, and JaVale McGee.
One of them catches lobs and dunks them.
Yeah, one of them, I would say PJ Tucker is probably they're both, ideal role players, but at very different things.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly both of them, it's really their defense that comes in hand. PJ Tucker, can guard. I would say it's comfortable to say 1 through 5. Now that he's starting at center,
Yeah.
And is one of those guys that's really good at strips, very wise on the defensive end and produces, some offense. And the same goes with like McGee, but in a shot blocking sense, because there was a reason why, LA has been the best shot blocking team, and it doesn't have to do with Anthony Davis. Like this
A
guy
little
has
bit.
been very solid. It doesn't all have to do with Anthony Davis, I should say. It doesn't all, this guy's been very solid for them. And, one of the reasons why they're in the 1 seed in the West.
Mm-hmm.
Good tier, Max. Good work.
You think they're both where they belong?
I think. I mean,
I would say so.
yeah. I'd say you did good work. Proud
It's
of you.
especially when you start looking into the higher tiers here that you would see that some of these guys lower down. The bottom half does not belong with the top. So into the C tier, you have Jarrett Allen, Jonas Valanciunas, Yusuf Nurkic, and Mark Gasol. Allen and Gasol are both kind of on the different ends of their career. Gasol is still really solid. He's just not an all-star anymore. He's still really important to the team's success, but overall, he's not too big of a threat, but he's still, carries a lot of weight with him, and he's a really just good, smart player. Allen, on the other hand, is just really young. Yeah.
Yeah, I would argue that Gasol might be D tier just because I think he is also not the most feared, as you said, in the starting lineup. Because Raptors do have a very young team, and not too many people are looking for Marc Gasol on the scouting report.
No, but I think if you were the Lakers or the Celtics, you'd take Marc Gasol over what you have right now any day.
Yeah, I'd say so.
If the money was the same or whatever, if it was just 1 year.
That's fair.
Especially if I was the Lakers. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I don't know about my man from the Grizzlies. I don't know about that now. Yeah.
Jonas Valanciunas averages the quietest 16 points a game you'll ever see.
I actually thought he might need to be higher. Like I thought I like where he is, but I think he's the upper half of the C tier. Yeah, that guy can ball.
He's really good. He scores the most points by far of any of the other three guys in the C tier.
I don't know. Nurkic has been putting up buckets this year.
I think Nurkic. Well, he didn't play this year.
In the gym,
Yeah, I think he's more around 12 or so. Gasol kind of stopped shooting, and Allen is a lob guy.
I have a confession to make.
Yeah.
Nurkic has been my obsession for the last year because I had this harebrained scheme of I'm going to wait until the signs seem really close that he could possibly announce a return and then pick him up for fantasy and then hope till somehow he just goes off. I know he's not going to turn my team around, but I was like, that's going to be the stealth late season acquisition that nobody sees coming, then just gives me the edge.
Is fantasy going to come back then with this new season?
I don't think so. They'll probably do some cool new thing, but
I wonder if they'll won our league.
I probably checked Nurkic health info 2 to 3 times a week for the entirety of the basketball season.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
he's a pretty important player, but at most he's a third option, and that's not ideal for any of these guys right here.
Yeah,
he does center their defense. They are noticeably weaker on defense with him not there, and having to rely on Hassan Whiteside.
Yeah, who is good at blocks, but really terrible technical defender.
I feel 2-3 years ago, if the Trailblazers were we just brought in Hassan Whiteside and Carmelo Anthony, fans would be so hyped. And now it's so disappointing.
It's oh god. Just stroll down the lane and score.
Yeah.
So that's C tier. The B tier are either vital players to really good teams or the second or third option on a bad team. Mostly the second option on a bad team. So you recognize everyone on this tier, right, Hugh?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
We have cleared the threshold.
So we got Clint Capella on the Hawks. He hasn't played a game for them yet, but he's pretty much the second best player on that team already, or third behind
John Collins. Yeah, John Collins is definitely coming out of his shell this season.
But I mostly put Capella here based off of his Rockets stuff from earlier in the year. People value him because of his rim running, his defense, and I just think you'd take him over any of the C tier guys right now.
He's also got a big contract.
Yeah.
Questionably large.
Yeah, he did. Big, ugly contract.
Yeah, so we'll see how that ages. Then we got Miles Turner, who is a really just solid starter on a really good Pacers team. He does his job. He can shoot a little bit. He plays his defense. I think he kind of is what he is right now. For a long time, he was a young guy that was one step away. But now I think he kind of is what he is, and that's fine. He's good enough for a B tier. None of these B tier guys are going to be. I don't think they'll be all-stars anytime soon, but they could. They're like borderline all-stars is the B tier.
Yeah, I mean, especially as you get later down the list.
Yeah, so then you got Brook Lopez, who is just essential to how the Bucks system works, and he's still with age, super efficient, and you'd take him over Gasol just because he kind of does do a little bit more at this stage of his career.
And Brook,
here's the thing: is I know we're gonna get to the A tier too, but I, honestly would swap Gobert and Lopez.
That is insanely
That's a hot
bold.
take.
That is a scorcher.
Oh yeah. But I firmly believe in it, and I can go into it now. I guess I can make the case for Brook now, and the case for Gobert swapping in this next tier, but. Lopez really has stepped out. I think that he's playing some of his best basketball. Definitely close to his peak on the Nets. Because people forget threes. He was the best. He was like a Vucevic for the Nets, a great player putting up great numbers, but for an abysmal team. Yeah. And I think he's really shown his worth as a starter for the Bucks, because that pick and roll that they run with him and Giannis, what is the you either have your center switched onto Giannis, leaving Brook wide open, or you leave it out to the guy that just got the screen set on him to stop the defense. It really unlocked their offense. I really do think him and Ilyasova, the big men being able to shoot, really works well in that offensive scheme, and he's so vital for their success. Imagine even some of the players in the S and A tier. Imagine if they were not, if they were replaced with Brook Lopez. I don't think they're, those Bucks are a 60-win team. You'd get the numbers, but I think he just does his role so well while putting up, pretty good numbers.
But does that say something about
league in blocks?
Does that say something about him,
leading the league in blocks?
Say something about the situation? Because if you took Gobert out of the Jazz, they die. He's the best player on their team.
I strongly disagree. I think he is so. I think he is his defense. His defense is, I guess, in the sense he's definitely I guess I would say Hassan Whiteside,
Dave,
but to
the
his
word
fullest
you're
potential.
looking for is French. He's French. We understand.
He's like French. He's like French. JaVale McGee. Really, I really don't think he's that good. I really don't. I'll get into it more, but I have another center on this list that I think is also too high.
Yeah.
All right.
So the B tier list are guys that could be all-stars or were all-stars, So then that leaves Steven Adams, and you also have DeAndre Ayton, who are guys that are up and coming. Steven Adams is on a better team and plays a really good role.
Is he up and coming, though?
I think Steven Adams is he is what he is at this point. I don't know if that's an all-star, but he's really also central to what they do. And DeAndre Ayton is the second best player on given a really bad team. But, I think he has a lot of potential and could be an all-star someday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which leaves the highly contested Kristaps Porzingis, also on the B tier.
So good. Porzingis.
Mr. Glass. Mr. Latvian Glass.
I think Bully just doesn't like Europeans. Is that the moral of the story?
Oh my gosh.
Was it
you guys are going to try to pin me on...
Was it Gobert or Kristaps? Who hurt
Finsdale and his hatred for European big men. But listen, I love Jokic. Jokic is by far one of the best players. We'll get to him, but I have respect for foreign players. It's literally just he has not shown anything that is any sort of improvement while being one of the most consistently injured players in the league.
Imagine getting injured in your like third season in the league, and then just having these podcasters out here just dragging you through the mud. Imagine getting drafted to New York, the New York Knicks.
His ceiling is not as high as you think it is. This man cannot, like, the whole point of the big man that can space the floor is that you get that offense inside and outside. He's a threat, on the low post or the high post, and beyond the 3-point line. Kristaps Porzingis is literally only beneficial around the 3-point line.
This man averaged 22.
He posts up against like Marcus Smart, and Marcus Smart. This is like probably the easiest job for him, is guarding him. Like it's, or even like Patrick Beverley. Like he gets so bothered by smaller guys, when they go up against him, that he just is so unproductive and inconsistent. Like, mind you, he's shooting 40%, consistently almost throughout his entire career. That's like,
from the field.
From the field. That's not,
for a center.
I don't think that's anything of an exception. Well, yeah, you're supposed to be a center. You're supposed to be close to the basket. Like, look at DeAndre Jordan. He has the highest, field goal percentage in the league.
Now,
like, he's not, like, Kristaps is just not a threat inside. He's just, like, an above-average 3-point shooter, and he's 7 feet tall. That's it.
I definitely think you're selling him short, because he's only been in the league for 2 full and then 2 half seasons. At 22 years old, he averaged 22 a game. He already has the shot. What's to say he can't add the inside game? Giannis could put on weight. Why can't Porzingis put on some weight? Really kind of get in there. I think he's got the potential.
I don't know. See, that's
I think
the thing,
you just
is
gotta.
like, you're relying so much on something you haven't seen from him yet. Like, I would say I would make a better case.
22 a game is something.
For someone like, I would say someone like Jared Allen. Like, it's pretty much a controversy in Brooklyn that Jared Allen is not starting for the Nets. Granted, he would not be, the most valuable player in that starting lineup, but he's definitely a consistent producer.
He started more than DeAndre Jordan this year.
Right, but, it took a while for, Kenny Atkinson to do that.
The production, the scoring, he already has it. He's already good, and he has that, and he's so young. He has the potential to be great. I'm buying. I will take whatever stock you want to sell me in Kristaps Porzingis. I'll buy it. I'll do it.
I just put him here because I think he's a borderline all-star, and he's clearly the second best player on a decent Mavs team. And
Jared Allen on 25.7 minutes a game averaged 10.6 points a game. Kristaps Porzingis, on a year older than him, on 32 minutes a game, averaged 22.7 points per game. That's a 10-point jump with what, a 50% minute increase. That's cash right there. And
I don't know.
The Mavericks are good with him as their second option.
And he's also
percentages.
And he's also
listen. I'm not saying he's not good. I'm just saying you're putting a lot of. I don't think he's B tier.
Look at those percentages. In his last healthy season, he shot .395 from the 3-point line, averaging 5 attempts a game. Get that volume up a little bit. The dude's almost shooting 400 from 3 already. That
40,
is
50, 90.
Yeah, he's going to get there.
He's shooting 35% from the 3.
This season. But this season, he started off slow. He was coming off of an injury. I'm talking about the healthy season before that, he was shooting .395. It's almost 400, and he's a center.
That's almost 400, but you're also missing where he shot 33% his rookie season and 35%. Yes, he's getting better, but at the same time, he's also showing signs of a bit of regression after the injury. Like, he's not
like everyone. It's been less than a season.
Right.
Give the man time. He's an investment. Let's go.
He's definitely not C tier.
Next season, that man is going to ball out.
Well, he's like borderline B tier at least.
He is A tier by next season. We're going to redo this.
I think he's comparable to all these players at B. Ayton, Adams, Lopez, Turner, and Capella.
And
They're
when-
all like, you'll pay them a lot of money. Maybe they'll make one All-Star game or something like that, and they'll be good from there.
And
you know?
when he is an all-star next year, and we redo this list, he's going to be at least in the A tier. You wait.
Speaking of
calling the
which,
shot.
let's go to the A tier. These players are all-stars and the best players on their teams. The separation between that and S is that in S tier is like an MVP candidate and the best player on a really good team.
Mm-hmm.
So these A tier, all-star, best player on, either a good team or a shit team, but they're like the best player.
You did
And they
DeRozan
can be an
dirty.
all-star. So here we have Andre Drummond, who is unfortunately on the Cavs. He got traded from Detroit to Cleveland, which is not an upgrade at all. And, best rebounder in the league and one of the best in his league history. He has his flaws in other ways, but he's a pretty consistent all-star threat. And he's been the best player on his team his entire career. So he's A tier. As is Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year, best player on a really good Jazz team, focused on defense, first-time All-Star this year, A tier. Nikola Vucevic, I was considering putting in B, but because he's been an All-Star already, and he's actually younger than you think he is, I put him in A. He's the best player on his team. I mean, they made the playoffs. The Magic aren't too much of a threat, but he's been their best player for a while. He had a deserved All-Star nod. And I think he's a pretty decent, center, and he's an all-star and deserving of stuff.
So no credit to my man Aaron Gordon.
No, Aaron Gordon's not even close to Vucevic.
All right.
And then LaMarcus Aldridge is, I think, the only reason I put him in A is because he's more of a focal point on a solid team than a lot of the B tier guys are. The B tier guys might be they might be on a better team or have better numbers on a worse team, but I just think that he is, a consistent all-star threat, and he really kind of enforces his play style on the game and is the reason that the Spurs are still kind of in contention for the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's why I have him there
He's
over
filthy.
a B
It's
tier.
weird.
He's
It's
had
weird. He
such
is
a great
such an
career.
underrated player on the Spurs. Like, people forget, why he was so good. Like, I remember he put up like 45 against us quietly,
Yeah.
quietly.
No,
He's
filthy.
good for 20 and 10 every single night.
If Kawhi stayed with the Spurs, man, that's all. It would have been something. They could have built around that for sure.
Him and LaMarcus.
Him, yeah, for sure.
Well, before Kawhi got injured, he was there for a year, and it was going really
They were
well.
like the 2 seed, yeah.
So, LaMarcus, I think it's a toss-up between him and DeRozan as to who's the best player on that team. And, yeah, I think his numbers haven't even gone down with his age, He's still really solid.
He did the Tim
And-
Duncan, I'm a center now.
Yeah, and he transitioned to a center because everyone was like, oh, wait, this guy's really slow, and he's 6'11". Let's just play him at center, and it worked.
Mhm.
So they've been playing him next to sometimes Rudy Gay, sometimes Trey Lyles, kind of a mix of fours, and it's worked. So good for LaMarcus. That's the A tier list. You don't like Rudy?
I don't know. I feel like sometimes he can become very unreliable in the playoffs on defense. Like, I have yet to see him perform that well. This is just a minor, personal criticism.
Yeah, but he's
So,
still an A tier. Like, he's defensive player of the year. He's the best player on his team.
Certainly is that great player, but I feel like he definitely. I don't know. One could make the argument might be not the best player on his team in terms of long-term goals, I guess.
Well,
Would you take him over Drummond?
Yes, I would take him over Drummond.
Yeah, because I almost put Gobert in S, but I don't think he's winning an MVP anytime soon. So
I
Yeah.
want to speak to the playoff success or lack thereof, because the Jazz pretty consistently overperformed in the playoffs up until they started having to play the Rockets. And then, yes, that man is useless against the Rockets because they will shoot him out of off the floor so quick.
He was also useless against Golden State too. Like any team that really relies on the 3-point shot, which is kind of the trend of today's league. Like really, I don't know. Like if they get matched up against like Brook Lopez, he's not going to be able to step out to guard him.
Yeah, but it's tricky though because maybe he's on Giannis at that point, trying to slow him down.
Which he could probably do.
Yeah, so it's.
So yeah,
as long as they don't go I don't think he was super small death lineup, then he's useful. It's just that other lineup, which the Rockets lineup really invalidates most of the centers on this list. So
yeah,
that's just the way that is.
But also PJ Tucker's all the way down in D. So
yeah.
What all that's left is the S tier. These are MVP candidates, best players on their team by far.
The face of the LA Podcasters is one of them. Just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. And we actually each of these 3 players were drafted on our best team of the 2020s podcast. These were each of the 3 starting centers, and those are Nikola Jokic, Karl Anthony Towns, and Joel Embiid. I thought this was pretty easy to put those 3 up there. Towns doesn't have the team success, but numbers wise, he has the best in the league of any center. And then Jokic and the Nuggets, he does a little bit of everything. He's a borderline MVP candidate and the best player on a really good team. Same thing with Joel Embiid. Monster numbers, really is like kind of the one guy keeping the center position alive, and is a real handful down there.
And on Instagram. So
and he's got clout.
I have a question. Now that we've gone through the whole list, why is it that within the last, we'll say 5 years, why do you think it is that none of these guys have been legitimate MVP candidates? Yes, you could say Jokic, fringe, borderline, Embiid is in the conversation sometimes, but realistically, no, there is no point in any of the last however many seasons, 5, 6, 7 seasons, where you went and you said anyone would make a serious case that a center should be the MVP.
I think that there's been a big dry spell on big men in general. They ESPN did their starting 5 of the 2010s, and they had Draymond Green at center because they really had no other options.
That's brutal.
People were saying, where's DeMarcus Cousins? But even DeMarcus Cousins is at this point worse Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
And so I feel like these 3 guys are going to be the closest you can get to an MVP. I just think it's been a dry spell. You haven't had a dominant big man since, I guess, Duncan.
Dwight Howard.
And Dwight, yeah. That was an MVP candidate. Before that, it was Shaq. So I think these 3 are the closest we've gotten since then, because there was just a big dry spell in the late 2000s, early 2010s, where just kind of no one came up at that size.
But is that because of the players and the skill, or is that because of the style of basketball?
No, I think in those the 20, literally in the we were just watching the 2012 Eastern Conference Finals. Both of those teams just there just wasn't any center talent available. You know, that was back in the day where Kendrick Perkins was seen as this hot commodity, and he was awesome. Whereas on this list, he'd probably be a C or a D tier. So I just think there was just slim pickings. You really can't think of too many great centers at all that were even available. It's not like they were in the league and just not playing in big games or whatever. They just weren't around. They just weren't on, in the league yet.
Even right now, though, because even now there's not a dominant center. Embiid, I guess, but he's not a league dominant center. He's not taking them to titles. I guess
I think it's just because there's wings that are better.
Yeah, but here's a question: would Giannis have been realistically? He would have been a center probably like 10, 15 years ago, right? Like, would they have even considered, like, this guy's this tall, let's put him at power forward?
I think Shaq has compared himself to Giannis in terms of like in his time in Orlando when he was just a very raw athlete. He was able to run the floor. He was able to dribble. I think he would have gone the route of Shaq, where some coach would have told him to like eat up on his potatoes and just gain a bunch of weight. I definitely think he would have been a center. Because like he definitely has the skills to be good in any era, but I think they just would have treated him different. Like no team would take him seriously in terms of like, okay, like Shaq, you run the break,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like you'd take a young player that was a certain size and you'd treat them differently. Like now guys are allowed to stay thin, and the Kevin Durant's and the Jonathan Isaacs and the Porzingises exist.
And Anthony
because
Davis.
It's like, yeah,
Anthony Davis would be straight up just like plop him in the post and don't do anything else. Like
yeah, because like when we were watching Last Dance and stuff like that, like the entire play was like it was all half court stuff, and it was just give the ball to the big man and either post up and score or pass out of it, and everyone just walks around on offense.
Yeah.
So I think now it's just that you can take a player of that size and you can say like, all right, are they really skilled? Let's keep them as like a forward and make them have like guard skills. Are they not as skilled, or they're just genetically, built bigger like an Embiid or something like that? Just let them be a center,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it definitely like. It's definitely harder for taller guys to like be able to have the skills of a guard just because of their size, and durability and physical limitations. But I think I think those players certainly exist, and I don't think. I'm definitely for like them not being relegated to being the guy whose job it is to eat cheeseburgers and guard up against Marcin Gortat.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I think it's. I don't think it's a. I think it's just a different treatment of players and a different raising. I think it was like Chris Webber who was saying that if you were a big man, they didn't even let you shoot threes. And when we were younger, when you played like rec league ball or AAU or something like that, if you were like the biggest kid on the team, they would separate you by bigs and guards, and the big kids would get rebounds and practice layups while the guards would do their dribbling drills. But now everyone does the same stuff together. Now the ideal is that you're a basketball player, you should be able to do everything. A guard should be able to rebound, and a big man should be able to dribble and everything in between.
Threes. Yeah.
So speaking of big men, in our last little segment here, unless you guys have anything else with the tier list.
Good list, Max.
Good.
Good. I have some debates, but overall, it's a very well thought out list.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Speaking of big men, domination, post ups, perhaps the art of dunking is something that should be discussed. I wanted to bring this to the table because this summer, my 6-foot self has been attempting to dunk in quarantine. I've been shooting around by myself, and I'm pretty close. I'm pretty close to dunking on 10, and so I came here to consult the experts. Hugh, what do you know about dunking?
So
How do I do it?
Okay, so this is the first thing you got to do is you got to make sure you get it on video. This is important.
That's true.
You got to make sure you get it on video. You got to make sure that you got to make sure you're wearing the correct uniform is another thing. So we're talking about select certain types of basketball sneakers. We're not going with some like, some Air Maxes. We're not getting silly here. We're talking about Kobe's. We're talking about Jordans. And we're talking about maybe, the new wave, it's pretty cool. They're not the dunking type, but Kyrie's are pretty nice. They're pretty fresh. Maybe sneak some Paul George action into there. So you get those on, right?
Yeah.
Now, depends how long you've been hitting the gym. If you've been hitting the gym, then you wear the jersey. If not, maybe you back out on that and you go with, just your average t-shirt. Maybe, I don't know. If you've really been hitting the gym, you just go skins. You get the video ready, you go up, and then you just dunk the ball. I mean, it's a multi-step process, but it's just pick the shoes, get the fit,
Yeah. Okay.
set up the camera, and then dunk. I'd say that's kind of the 4-step process if you really want to, crush your dunking game. David, you agree?
Hugh.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's just practicing a bunch of jumping, like over and over again. It's getting used to like being able to like.
So completely different from what Hugh was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd
So
say so.
as a man, Dave, how tall are you? 6'3"?
Jeez, I'm not barely 6'2". I'm like 6'1 3/4".
David is
Okay.
6'8".
I always thought you were much taller than me. But anyways, you played freshman basketball at our high school,
did.
and you've been quite the athlete during certain stages of your life. When was the first time that you dunked at 10 feet? Where was it, and how did it happen?
Who was watching?
It was. I've actually only been able to dunk for a very. I was only able to dunk for a very short period of time. It's coming back. I'm definitely working on it. I had some ankle and knee issues I had to work out, but I'd say my peak was definitely when I was playing for the Irish basketball team my freshman year of college
Ah,
in my study abroad program. Yeah, no, like I had time because like no one really like study abroad program like it wasn't that difficult, and it was a freshman
What
first
is?
semester,
Wait,
so it really wasn't that difficult, and I just had a lot of time. Like if I showed up there on a certain period of time in the day, like nothing would be there,
David,
or even better yet, you'd have. Yep.
could you elaborate on what the Irish basketball team is?
oh, Hugh, you've never heard this story?
No.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, this
Yeah.
is
No, so
fantastic.
when
This
I
is a
was
great
in
podcast
Ireland,
story.
when I was studying abroad, I tried out for it's essentially just like it wasn't even like
It was the
the
university, right?
yeah, but it
You,
wasn't. I think it may have even been just like the freshman team. I really don't think it was like the actual team.
UC Dublin, right?
Yeah, UCD.
Yeah.
And yeah, no,
Wait. So
I
what is
got
UC
on
Dublin?
and I ended up,
You walked
playing a
on.
couple games for them. Oh yeah.
What is UC Dublin?
UCD is actually it's a university in Ireland, just outside, like just south of the city, and I would say it's probably the Ireland's most popular college in terms of the amount of students they go to. I think like 40,000.
And
I
you
want to
walked
say.
onto
I'm
their
not
team?
sure.
And you don't go there?
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, like I said, I walked onto their freshman team, so
Did
it
they
wasn't
know
like
that
a
you didn't
big
go
deal.
there?
Oh yeah, no. They were just like, oh yeah, no. While you're spending your semester here, like you could certainly just
We
why
could
not?
use you.
Because I was
Fair
like, I
enough.
was pretty good. I mean, I was good for like like I said, being a freshman or
Mhm.
whatever. But yeah, no, I played there for a short stint. Had a tournament which was pretty awesome. But yeah, no, I ended up. I would say that was definitely my basketball peak in terms of jumping ability. Probably not anything else, because like the balls always felt weird to shoot. They are a bit different.
Was it a EuroLeague ball?
It was a EuroLeague ball.
That's cool.
Wow. Were you one of
Yeah.
those
Well,
like
it's just.
did you just like walk up, dunk the ball and then they signed you? Was it that kind
Oh,
of situation?
I didn't even dunk the ball when I got on. I had to like work at it. I had to like I was in the gym every day, like jumping
Oh.
up, doing box jumps, doing squats, and then like in the afternoon I would just walk up to the rim, spend probably about like 10 minutes of my practice just going up, jumping up, touching the backboard, two hands, just
David
doing that
Gould
over and over again.
on the college athlete grind.
Well,
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
didn't know
like,
that David leads UCD in amount of American points scored.
pretty much, yeah. I'm kind of a legend out
Pretty
there.
much.
Yeah.
I
What
just
did you say
love
your
the
career high was? About like 8 or so?
Oh yeah, no, I was deep in the bench, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, they
There's some highlights there. Yeah.
yeah, certainly some
You don't
highlights.
there you've told some other stories that may not be podcast relevant about some of the
Yes,
coaches
I
and
have.
the
Yes,
rooming and such, but
right.
that's
Did
for
you
another
room with
day.
the team?
That's for another day. That's for
That
yeah,
could be like a portion of a podcast in itself because those are some of
yeah.
my favorite stories ever.
Yeah.
I would say definitely like an after hours, but
Yeah, I
like
was gonna
this
say
is until
past
like
first
midnight.
after
So,
dark.
Hugh, you
but
just had me out there.
What?
Yeah, you kind of went out for a second.
Pass first after dark. Is that what's going on here?
Yeah, sure. Dave can tell
I
his
mean,
dark tales from the Irish Basketball League.
oh
Someday.
yeah, such
So, anyways, yeah, given your experience, so what I've found is first of all that one hand dunks are how you get higher, right? And that you kind of want to go from the baseline and then kind of curl out and in is the way that I've been looking to do it.
Start from the baseline, really?
Yeah, like you kind of like go from the side and then like
See, what I do is I start from like the sideline on the right side of where, like, basically, like, if the 3-point line was perpendicular to the court, it would stretch from, like, that part of the sideline. I'd start there. I, like, do 2 dribbles and then gather step and then just that's what I
from
do
the
at
free
least.
throw line. Yeah.
Yeah, like curling in, or like through the free throw line, ending up on the right side.
Oh, I thought you meant jumping from the free throw line. Never mind.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah, totally that.
yeah, the only problem with that is that there is a fence like right behind my basket, so I can't really go at a straight shot or I'll run into a fence. So
Yeah.
I kind of have to curl around to the side. Might be making it a bit more difficult, but I'm really close. I just need to make it so that, like, right now, what I've been doing is it either rattles in and I like touch rim, or I grab rim and it flies off the backboard.
So
I just have to get the coordination.
if you wear these shoes
Oh God.
and you lace them up real tight, I think that'll improve your vertical by approximately 7 to 8 inches, and that'll probably make the difference for you.
Do you know how much these are, Hugh?
Well, it's funny you ask because let's just say the price has fluctuated over the years.
Yeah.
But when they first, I think right now they go for about 200.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's
Because he's not on the Lakers anymore, so it's not as like showy. But now LaMelo's coming, so you have to buy your big baller brand shoes.
But the thing is, those are the like OG ones, so they might be on the resale market.
Lonzo doesn't even wear them, right?
Yeah, Lonzo, he's gone back and forth on whether he really wants to be a big baller. He's had some struggles. You wait till it took Kobe's a while for them to hit their stride too. So just give it some time.
All right. Maybe it's a worthy investment if it'll really add that last touch to my game.
That last 7 to 8 inches of vertical, yeah.
I don't need 7 or 8. I only need I would argue like 1 more inch, and I should be able to do it like inconsistently.
So what were you saying about it just being one more, or one-handed over 2? That makes it better because you can like stretch.
Yeah,
higher?
because you're going off of 2 feet with 2 hands, and that's
Yeah.
definitely like you have to kind of have more of a bounce. The transfer of momentum is a lot easier from like going from running to jumping than being able having to jump stop and then push off from there.
Sure.
Yeah, because when you use one hand, you're basically you're also kind of distance jumping, so you kind of you don't lose your momentum.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, that's why it was so strange. I remember Kyrie once dunked with like 2 hands because Steph Curry, like those type of point guards, usually only dunk like one-handed. No one else on defense.
Yeah, the Zaza Pachulia dunk where it kind of just crawls over the rim.
Yeah,
Those ones. That I hope that I can kind of skip that stage, and that it's not like the Zaza Pachulia dunk where it's like you basically pull the rim down and then the ball just kind of falls in. Those ones aren't as cool, but that'll probably be the progression.
Well, I hope you get there, Max.
I do too. I hope to take your advice to heart, and I'll let you know when the deed is done.
The deed is done. Please do upload it to the podcast Twitter. Let the fans know.
Yeah, it'll be a big day, so I'll let everyone know when it happens.
Word.
We all set?
Yeah, I think this has been an episode. David, you want to come in with your closing tidbit for the class?
Oh, right. So I guess this is the segment of the show where I share something interesting that I found about basketball. anything really. And we were discussing this before the podcast, how on the West Coast, it is not custom to throw back when you're shooting around with your friends, it is not custom to throw back to the shooter after a missed shot for that person to get their layup in. Actually, they just take the ball. Apparently, that's just a Boston, New York, Philly, East Coast thing.
In what game? In what
And just
game?
shooting around.
Just shooting?
Yeah, just shooting around. Yeah, if there's like
With
one
multiple
ball,
people.
5 guys. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, I always thought it was common courtesy. It's like you get the rebound off someone's miss, and it's just like, all right, take your layup. Give them a nice pass. They make their layup, and then they pass it back out to you. You're ready to take your shot already. Like you go out to like the 3-point line or whatever,
Exactly.
and they pass it back to you. It's a really nice way to, kind of practice with each other, but also like not at the same time, because then everyone kind of gets an equal shot.
I wonder if that has to do with like, are you playing with a lot of like experienced basketball players that played a lot in?
Oh yeah.
Okay, because I know, most people who didn't play in high school or whatever, didn't play a lot of organized leagues, would know like it's more of a practice thing originally. Like, if you're shooting, I feel like that's how most people learn that type of thing, is they went to practice and people were doing that. Rather than like initial pickup, everyone has their own ball, or like whoever brought their ball is just doing their thing. I think the courtesy kind of came of like being part of a team and, coaches kind of implementing that. So
Maybe.
I wonder,
Dave, do you remember doing that in like rec league at all? Because we definitely did just like shoot around in AAU when I played, and that was definitely something that we did. But I don't remember it happening before that. So it might have been a high school AAU thing.
It happened in middle school for me, at least.
Yeah, probably.
maybe your middle school.
Yeah,
is
I
elite.
was in middle school AAU or whatever.
Yeah, so that's
middle school AAU. Oh yeah, well yeah, I did travel team or whatever, which was like kind of just like you wore your town's name and you traveled around to the other one. We played Hugh, we practiced at the Beverly Y.
it's a good facility.
Yeah. This is where I played the North Shore Bobcats with our friend Justin, who sometimes comes on the show.
Friend of the show and loyal
Good times.
contributor. No, my guess is that it comes from that organized team thing, at least up here. That's part of the culture. That's how most people learn it.
Is it an instinct for you because you didn't play too much organized?
I learned it. Well, now I do it all the time because I just learned it from playing with like other guys who did.
Like a Y or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I definitely have gone to play like at school and stuff, and they don't do it. So it depends. I tend to lean that way because it just I like getting my layup. I like being able to lay it up. So I figure I'll pass to the next guy. Also, you get to practice your passing a little bit. It's just it's a little extra. It's good.
You could do a fancy pass too if you're cool.
Yeah.
You could put some jelly on your layup.
You could do the LeBron thing. Ask each guy on the court, how do you like the laces or whatever you call them, the pattern?
Oh, the laces, yeah.
Is that what's good? The laces, yeah. How do you like your laces for your shot, and try to get it precisely that way?
How do you like yours?
I don't have a preference. I'm not that elite.
Really?
Yeah.
I have to be straight down the middle. Like my fingers, I'm a lefty, on my left hand have to be like the lines have to be horizontal and they have to be right in there. Like if you watch me catch and shoot, I'll spin the ball in my hands before I shoot it so that it's right there.
Really?
Yeah. It's a crazy like psychological thing that I just do.
Yeah, I think a lot of like players do it, like upper level players, but it just
because that's how you get that's how you can get a gauge on if your backspin is right. Mm-hmm. Like when you're shooting, like when you're like laying, like the classic like laying back in bed, shooting the ball up and getting like your follow through or whatever, you always do it with the horizontal laces,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of just where the habit came from.
So I gotta ask, from your travel team days, who was tougher, Peabody, Danvers, or Sierra Canyon?
Sierra Canyon. Oh God.
Who did you strike? I want you to power rank the three.
Well, I've never played Peabody or Sierra Canyon. So, and the
Okay.
Danvers teams that we played were atrocious.
Oh,
And,
so they weren't tough. So you're gonna go out on a limb and say Peabody,
and
Sierra,
Sierra Canyon are above
Danvers.
Danvers, yeah.
But it's
I mean,
unclear. It's unclear who's
mean,
number one.
yeah, so my town is really small. So we would play against teams from bigger towns and cities at like varying levels. So we never really had a gauge on like, oh, is this the good Lawrence team or is this like the lower Lawrence team? You really couldn't tell until you checked the score after the game. But Dave, I know you definitely did all those leagues too, right? And how do you like your laces?
My laces in terms of
When you shoot,
Sorry.
yeah, catch and shoot.
Did you dot up Sierra Canyon? Is the question. All right. Well, David, are you?
David is away. I
It
guess we
seems
scared
like
him.
David has ended
no,
the
sorry,
podcast.
sorry, I just got back from the bathroom.
Oh.
I missed a
Oh,
bit of
okay.
that.
Oh,
Oh, you didn't
not a
hear me on
problem.
mute?
No, it's all right. When you shoot the ball and you have laces going every which way do you like it so you can put your hands on it and get the spin on and all that stuff?
Oh, I have laces perpendicular,
Oh, really?
like to where
Okay.
I shoot. Yeah. So like I can like read Spalding as it goes by.
Oh, it's all about the literacy. I see. It's you can learn how to read while you learn basketball.
Wait, so they're vertical?
They're horizontal.
horizontal.
Yeah, so same as you.
Oh, yeah, okay. Because you said
Yeah.
perpendicular. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Yeah.
perpendicular to the way you shoot. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. No, I was telling Hugh I'm the same way because when you're seeing your backspin, if it's not like centered like that, you can't really tell how much spin is on it, you know?
Right, and also like it's a lot easier for the left hand to kind of like grab it and like be able to like move it to a consistent position.
Yeah. Well, I'm a lefty, so.
All right, so right hand then, dominant
Yeah.
hand.
But yeah, and then the other was the other question that we were going through was the best travel team.
Yeah. Out of
Teams.
the
He was.
I want you to
hosting-
power rank if the three teams. Hopefully you've played them all. It's Danvers, Peabody, and Sierra Canyon.
Oh, I have not played any of them. No, I have not. I played in my own conference. I played
So-
with North Andover.
so
I
you'd
played
say
with
they were about
Wilmington,
even?
Methuen.
Oh,
Like,
your
even
conference
St.
was different
John's.
from ours.
Even St. John's was that was like all Catholic schools. So
Okay. Would you take?
never really had any too much experience playing against anyone from their actual town. Like I did like Mass Rivals. I did VBC.
Oh, you
know.
were mass rivals.
Yeah, I was Mass
Oh.
Rivals for like high school.
Yeah,
I
you-
think,
Oh,
like,
I was
early
mass
high
elite
school.
in high school. We hated you guys.
Yeah, Mass Elite. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, mass elite's the worst. Well, my team was. My team was bad, but did you ever play against anyone interesting?
I think I played against Central Catholic.
And
I
did
think
they
we ended
have
up winning
anyone?
that game. Yeah, not that I remember. Like I don't remember if them like they had maybe like one or two pretty good players, but no one I can remember that was like
Oh,
anything
okay.
significant.
Because I remember we played. Oh shoot, what's the town's name? We played Michael Carter Williams' younger twin brothers
Oh,
because
did I tell you? Yo, did I
Hamilton
tell
won
you?
him.
Oh,
Yeah,
Hamilton.
one of them. Oh wait, not Michael Carter's. Michael Carter Williams' actual brother, like his, or I guess is the same person. Is he? Were they
They're
all
a
right?
gigantic family. Yeah, it's the hyphenated name is like I don't know if it was like divorce or something like that, but it's a gigantic family. So there's a bunch of
Yeah.
them.
So I think so. Mark, like the person who shares his last name actually goes to Northeastern. He plays
really?
club team. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Like
cool.
he showed me. It's funny. He carries around an expired picture of Michael Carter Williams' license, and it's like Michael Carter Williams from when he was like a teenager, like getting his permit.
Oh, is that like
And it's
his
hilarious.
fake?
I don't know. Like I guess maybe he just carries around when like people say like, oh, you're not related to him because
Oh,
he
yeah.
doesn't look too familiar, like too
If
similar.
if
to
he's
him.
our age, it might be the same guy. because there were two twin brothers that were supposed to be related to him that played on Hamilton Wenham, and we played against them a few times.
Yeah, I played against him. He's pretty good. He's definitely he's definitely better than me. I'd say that.
Yeah. There's a handful of people that are better than us, but we hope you can take our expert advice to heart.
All right. Well, that has been the Pass First podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Everyone, please subscribe to the channel if you want to get notifications for more episodes. Hit the notification bell so you know when we're going live. You can also check when we're going live on our Twitter account at PassFirstPod. And then if you want to hear from any of us individually, you can see our Twitter accounts up on the graphic there. I guess we can repeat them. I'm at Tweets by Hugh.
Can find me at Legally Richard with an underscore.
And Dave of the Buoys. By the way, I don't know if you guys have seen, I actually joined an automated basketball league on Twitter.
An automated?
I don't know what that means.
It is an
does that
account
mean?
that if you follow it, you will get drafted by a randomly selected team, and you will play a RNG game of basketball against the other team.
It's like Dungeons and Dragons for basketball.
I was off the bench. It's funny. I was shorter and smaller than I am actually. I was 6 foot, 180 pounds. But I just this last game I had 29 points, 5 assists, and 5 turnovers.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
a
a
gotta
good
get that
simulation.
1-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. Oh yeah, very accurate. I was like 5 of 7 from 3.
Wow, that's a good day for you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Good day at the Y.
All right. Well, we'll get back to you guys on what account that is. Maybe pimp them out after we each get to try out our little simulation. But
Yeah.
that's all for today, and we'll be back in a few days, looking at probably Saturday, sometime this weekend, for our next episode. So, yeah, everyone, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll be back soon.
Bye.
Bye now.
Peace.
We're clear.
All
Cool.
right.